Hi, welcome to MediatorPodcast.com, a podcast and video series about mediation, negotiation, and collaboration. My name is Melissa Gragg, and I provide valuation and divorce mediation services in St. Louis, Missouri. During this episode, we will discuss the divorce mediation process and the Better Apart method with Gabrielle Hartley. She is a leading divorce attorney, online mediator, and author of Better Apart. She's also a vice chair in the American Bar Association's dispute resolution section. And when she wrote Better Apart, Gwyneth Paltrow actually endorsed her book. What are some of the benefits to actually mediating a divorce as opposed to, I actually see more people falling into mediation than collaborative or litigation right now. You know, and I don't know why that is. I mean, do you have any thoughts on that?
I think it makes a lot of sense. I also think it's becoming much more mainstream. The American Bar Association dispute resolution mediation section has grown tremendously in the last year or so. I think people are understanding the value and that it's not some woo-woo thing. And it doesn't mean you can't have a lawyer. I think that's like, I mediate all over the country. I don't know the law all over the country. So, I mean, I always tell people, go find out what your rights are. Then let's get started. I have one meeting before they meet with the lawyers, and I tell them what they need to learn from the lawyers. So they're not like, oh, I don't know what to ask, right? So first off, I want to say the judge I used to work for, who's now literally the chief of all the matrimonial cases in New York State, he used to always say, you don't want this stranger in black robes deciding your life. Right?
Yeah.
And that's just the reality. You lose all control, and the things that you think are important to you may not be legally relevant. The judge may disagree with you. You may remind him of some girlfriend who dumped him when he was 16, or some boyfriend who jilted, her, or whatever the case may be. Don't assume that the other person, the judge, is going to be on your side. You have no idea. And looking at this as a win-lose proposition isn't going to do anything for you or for your family. It's just not. So mediation is just a really reasonable, sensible way to proceed. It's not creating the drama that litigation creates. This is the thing, like, people come to me and tell me their story. And as they're talking, the way my mind works, having been in court for, 2 decades and then some, I start thinking like, oh, there's something I could fight about. There's something they could fight about. There's something they could fight about. There's, the little tree is starting to like populate with all the branches of all the arguments, all the rabbit holes, each worth $3,000 to $10,000, right? So you're making so much money as the lawyer, and you're thinking, well, you're justifying it. Like, I'm getting the client what they deserve. And like, it's really a philosophical decision that you have to make for yourself. I am of counsel to a very strong litigator in Manhattan, who I refer all my cases that cannot be mediated to. And, we discussed this at length, like, we have a very philosophically different approach to divorce law, yet we believe in one another because we know that people are not all the same. None of this is one size fits all. The only thing that is one size fits all is you all need to have businesses evaluated. Whether you're mediating, like, the best mediation is one, where there are some assets, where it's integrated. I'm a big believer in being, in not being penny wise and pound foolish. Get a real strong understanding of what you are giving, what you're getting, what your exposure is. That's the only way you're going to feel good and like wholehearted when you look at yourself in the mirror and you look at your ex, if you have that kind of relationship. And it doesn't matter if you've been married for 1 year or 30 years. It really doesn't. Like, we all know people, if not ourselves, who are still holding on to some breakup from 100 years ago, and you can't even believe, like, how are you still holding on to it? It's because it wasn't processed, which is another thing. There's a lot of conversation about how much processing is necessary at the negotiation table, right? Like, how much do we let that happen? And that's a whole other podcast, but it's a very interesting topic, because if you don't validate and hear what the other person has to say, you're not going to move your case along. So that goes to the practitioners, right? Validate, validate, validate. Doesn't matter if you agree or disagree. You know, if you're the person who cheated and your wife or your husband is so mad at you, you know, it could go a really long way for you to say, I hear you saying that you're really angry that I cheated and you need an apology. And I am really sorry. And even if you're not sorry about the cheating, I bet you're sorry about something about it, how it happened, that you got caught. I mean, it doesn't matter. There's always a way to be honest and validate at the same time. Never be dishonest. Never, never, never. But think before you talk.
Right. Well, and if you go into the dynamic of maybe one business owner, and it could be male or female, because I see both sides, but you have the business owner that maybe controlled all the finances, and then then they cheat. Okay. And then you have the other spouse that's like, I'm so mad. Like you have all the control of the finances. So the only way I can get back at you is I'm going to go to court and I'm going to say you cheated. So give me more. And in the state of Missouri, I unfortunately have to say, so that doesn't matter. And they're like, what do you mean it doesn't matter? Like, that's the whole reason why this all ended. Like, he needs to pay or she needs to pay because they cheated. And it's a real emotional breakdown. And it's really difficult because they thought that they could trade the hurt for financial gain.
Right.
And it doesn't work like that. And so now they're left with the hurt and maybe just the financial situation, you know, splitting in half or doing whatever, but they wanted blood, you know.
And sometimes,
Sorry.
Sometimes, like, I've had cases where the person with the money was the cheated on person, and they learn that they still have to pay half of what they have in New York and in Massachusetts. It's not necessarily half, but it's equitable, which is typically half. And they have to pay, and they might have to pay child support, and they might have to pay maintenance or alimony. And it's not relevant, although this is a time where litigators may disagree. They may say, well, the judges are people too, and if you have an egregious enough story, it may go. But if it's going to go in the balance, it's going to go in the balance like you're fighting over two houses of equal value, and if you're the one who's really wronged, you might get the house that you both want. You know what I mean? But like, you're not going to get more money. You might get like some things thrown at you to sort of, you know, solve it. But here's a little reality check, which is, even if you get all the money, it might make you feel a little better. It's not going to make all the pain go away. It's just not.
No. But in mediation or collaborative, if there is a situation that would warrant, you know, and really it's just if you guys can agree to it, there could be an unequal split of the assets. But what I have told people before is that if it's unconscionable, you know, if it's just ridiculous, the court may not do it.